Hello everyone, we're going to now begin the student trustee debate. The student trustee represents UMass Boston on the UMass Board of Trustees. My name is Mohammed, I will be assisting in moderating today.
My name is Ray, I'm the current student trustee and I will be Mohammed's assistant moderator today.
We will now begin with opening statements, beginning with Brittany.
Hi, my name is Brittany Holmes, and I am a freshman here at UMass Boston. I have been working this year as a senator, and I've gotten really interested in Gray's job in terms of the budget and the parking increases. And I would love to help just make a little bit more transparent, because there's a lot of confusion about exactly what's going on. And I've noticed that people are sharing this information, and in this day and age, I just want to make sure everyone is as educated as they can be, and just help make UMass Boston a better campus.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming here. My name is Sarah Tariq. I'm a junior political science major here at UMass. The student trustee is an elected position by the undergrad and grad students from all of the 5 UMass campuses. Each student from each one of the UMass campus is elected to serve on the board, and they represent their campus and their student perspective on what the board is doing. The board of trustees, they make decisions on the tuition, Title IX, and they approve new academic programs. So the position of the board, the student trustee, they present the perspective of students from their campus. And next year is very important for our campus, considering that we have a vote on the board, and also we have a new chancellor coming in the office. I have been involved in student government this past 2 years. First I was a senator, and then I was elected the student body vice president. And throughout being involved in the student government, I have talked to many students and encountered many issues that they have. And if elected, some of the issues that I would like to address include affordability. Since UMass Boston have a vote, I assure you my vote will go against the rise in tuition. Transparency, that's always something that we can work on. I assure you that I will be transparent, and I will advance in transparency within the administration, on the board, and on campus. And also student involvement. This year, President Trump and I would really try to work with students to hear their concerns and get them more involved on campus, and I would really like to continue that on to next year.
Thank you, candidates. And just for members of our audience, as a little background, we do have 5 eligible student trustee candidates. These 2, Sarah and Brittany, are here. The other 3 are, hopefully will be here at some point, Malik Baltimore, Shabam Gupta, and Sayuzana Nalmana. So we'll leave the chairs open if they choose to join any time. So, candidates, the first question is, one of the major aspects of the student trustee role is engaging with the board, the system office, and campus administrators. In a relatively fast amount of time, anybody who enters this role needs to build the relationships with many of those people in order to address issues on campus. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you would do this?
Coming into the role, I would quickly introduce myself to anyone that I can, and be very friendly and very open, and I would just ask a bunch of questions when I don't know something, and I want to inform all of them that I'm willing to learn about what they do and what I can do, what they expect of me with UMass Boston's past history of student trustees, and I would just try and make connections wherever I can, and yeah.
Being involved in student government, I've been always interested in the Board of Trustees and what they do. So in the past year, I have gone to most of the Board of Trustees meetings, and the year before that, I went to some of them too. I think it's very important that you have that kind of connection with the administrators, so when you are raising voice to student issues, they know you. I'm glad that I have that relationship with a lot of the board members already, and the administration on campus and the students as well. I hope to continue my efforts to advance that relationship, but I'm happy that I have that already.
Thank you. Another major part of the role of trustee is being able to engage and connect with students on campus and represent 17,000 individuals who may or may not hold the same opinions as you. How do you plan on engaging with all of those students? We'll start with Sarah.
So in the last year, what President Matrano and we did was we tabled a lot to talk to students, hear their concerns, and let them know who we are. We also sent out a couple of mass surveys, and we also have an open door policy. We do have office hours, but whenever we're in the office, even if we're not having office hours, students always come in, they talk to us about their concerns and questions. So I hope to continue that to next year.
As student trustee, I would try and get my name and my contact information out there, just so people know that they have a form of contact to me, whether it's my phone number, if they feel more comfortable texting or calling me, or my email. And when student trustee, I would definitely have open office hours, and I would try to table and present myself as a resource to the student body, and make sure that they know that no matter what issue, how big or small, or if they think it's really important or they think it's kind of trivial, I let them know that I'm willing to listen and hear them, and let them know that I'm always open ears.
So, the third question kind of relates more to on-campus issues. The past year has been one of considerable change at UMass Boston in a number of different ways. During the time, student voices lagged as a major player in the conversation in many of the instances. And as the trustee next year, another year of incremental change on this campus, what would you do to try and bolster the relevance of student opinion and student voices?
I would try to remind the Board of Trustees and other officials that the students are the main priority of UMass Boston, and that we are what makes it who it is, and that the student body is what gives UMass Boston its name and its character. And I would try to make sure that I am heard, and that because we have a vote this year, make sure that the vote counts and that the vote reflects what the student body wants, and not just what the Board of Trustees wants us to say.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. The past year has been one of considerable change at UMass Boston, and during this time, student voice has lagged as a major player in the conversation. As the trustee next year, what would you do to try and bolster the relevance of student voice and student opinion on a campus that will constantly be changing in the next year?
I think a big part of this just goes back to communicating with students. How are you going to raise their voice when you don't know what their point of view is? So, like I said before, I would continue tabling, sending out surveys, and just talking to students in general, so I know what their opinions and what their point of view is, and then bringing them back to the board. For that, it also goes back to having that connection with the Board of Trustees. Many students who don't know the board very well, they take a very long time just to know the members of the board. With that being said, I have gone to the Board of Trustees meeting, like most of them the past year, so I know them already. So I'm very excited to do that next year, if elected.
Great, thank you. Next question. Can you please describe some of the similarities and differences between one another's campaigns? So just what you are running on, opposed to what your opponent may be running on. Where is there overlap, and where are the distinct differences in your campaigns?
In my campaign, I guess biggest thing has been affordability and transparency of student involvement. I think for Brittany it was more of like just the budget. My thing is that a lot of the students who come to UMass Boston, they work full-time or part-time, they're independent, they pay for their own rent, they pay for their own food, so it's very important that for them to see like they shouldn't have the rise in tuition, so that's my biggest thing. For Brittany is more of like a budget. I don't know if you want to look at yourself.
Yeah, I want to focus more on, definitely on the budget and making UMass Boston affordable for a lot of people, because it is, from someone who just last year was in the college application process. I understand that UMass Boston is seen as a safety school because of the affordability of it. But I also want to mostly make sure that what's going on in campus and all of the changes aren't foreign. Like I said earlier, that the parking fees, there's so much more misinformation and not the full information is being given out to students, and they're asked to make choices and sign petitions without knowing exactly what's going on. And I would like to explain that in layman's terms, so that way it's not a bunch of unknown mess. It's easy and simple and easy to understand, so students can make educated choices and understand what exactly is going on their campus.
Thanks. With 4 other UMasses in the UMass system, often in these meetings it can become divisive and one may only go to the defense of their institution rather than the whole UMass system. Please talk about how you plan to overcome this challenge, overcome this divisiveness, and what qualities you have to make you the best candidate for this.
I would say that one of the qualities that made me the best candidate for this is I know how to compromise and section off each needs. I would go into the meetings with the other UMass representatives, and as a UMass Boston, but with my vote, I would take what UMass Boston wants, what UMass Lowell, and what each other campus wants, and find the best compromise that would make the majority of the representatives happy, so that way we can get the most done for all of our campuses. Because while we think that we are most important, I'm pretty sure UMass Lowell thinks they're most important, and UMass Amherst thinks they're most important, and I want to make sure that we are all getting the best education, the best experience we can, because all of us are paying for this, we might as well make the most of it.
I think an important part of that to emphasize on the needs of our campus and other campuses too. UMass Boston, like I said, has a vote next year. Only two campuses have a vote each year. This year is Amherst and the medical school. Next year is UMass Boston, one other student. To make sure that all student voices are being heard, I would like, if elected, I would like to work with other student trustees and see what their needs are on their campus and see how I can advocate for them too, but definitely emphasizing on the needs of UMass Boston, considering that we are going through tremendous amount of changes and change on our campus in general.
Thank you. Shifting gears again back to on-campus relationships. This trustee is not part of the undergraduate student government, however it works collectively and with them on a daily basis. What would you do to maintain a relationship with the undergraduate student government, with one of the candidates that was just on stage for the president's debate, with undergraduate student senate, to make sure to work efficiently and effectively?
The student trustee is not part of the undergraduate student government, but they go bi-weekly to their general assembly to report what's going on. And obviously whoever is elected would do that as well. And I think it's very important to have like an open door policy with especially the people who are in student government and whoever the president, vice president is next year, because they represent the students on campus. So working with them and making sure how you can aid them in any way and bring voice to the student concerns on the board.
I would definitely emphasize open door policy with the undergrad student government and the graduate student assembly. I would find out a way, the time of their meetings to make sure that I can go there and listen to their officers and their needs and what they want on campus too. And then I would make sure I take very good notes during General Assembly, because during Assembly, students and other, sometimes other people come to General Assembly to voice their concerns. Like a couple weeks ago, we had the parking fee people come and present their concerns as students and as professors, and I would make sure those goes into consideration when I go to the Board of Trustees.
If you both had a signature moment this past semester or last semester, just on your position or even outside your position, what would that signature moment be? Why is it significant to you, and why is it important to these voters?
I think my signature moment would be in General Assembly as a senator. I played in their eyes devil's advocate for the parking fee increase, of asking why, okay, you're advocating for students who want to park, but what about students who come on the commuter rail who pay a relatively high amount? And I made sure that it wasn't focused on, that they weren't generalizing all students as students who drive, that they made sure that they were just talking about students who drive and not those who take the MBTA, or those who take commuter rail, or those who walk?
I think for me it would be the welcome day that we had. We had a great outcome. We had the president from the UMass system here, and I was tabling for student government, and it was just great to see how excited the students were for the new rest halls coming in, and just in general. A lot of the administrators, they agreed to that the hype was, like you can see the campus morale going high, so it was really nice to see that during the welcome day. Thank you.
So the student trustee position, you are a trustee, a full trustee next year, voting member of the UMass board. And a lot of people don't know, but you become an employee of the state of Massachusetts. You're a special employee, you're not compensated. So going back to a lot of us have been in searches for employees, the question that always gets asked in that interview is why? Why do you want to come here? Why do you want to work here? So in this election, the student body is effectively asking you to come work for them as an employee of the state of Massachusetts and UMass Boston. So why do you want this job?
That's a great question. UMass Boston has a very diverse student body, and I feel like a lot of times that is not represented during the meetings and like the administration. So that's why I'm very excited to do this. Also, we have a lot of issues that are going on our campus. The UMass Boston is going through a lot of changes and transitions. That's why it's very important to make sure that the person who's in this job knows those issues, has connection with the students, and I'm excited to do that. That's what I like to do. That's why I was the student body vice president this year and as a senator last year.
I was raised with the notion that if you can do something and you don't, you can't complain about the outcome. So I've always tried to do what I best I can to fix problems that I see. Because if I can do something, I want to. Because then if I don't have the right to complain. And as student trustee, for me, that's the position I see where I can do the most of the things I care about. I care about what happened to the changes that I'm making. I want to make sure that the student's body voice is heard, and that people are represented in a good way, and that we don't get like thrown under the rug as just all students. That no, there's a bunch of diverse people, so there's a bunch of diverse issues, and I want all of them to be heard. So that way change can be made. So that way, if something goes wrong, we have the right to complain about it.
Thank you. In the coming months, there will be a new chancellor of UMass Boston. You, in your position, what would you say to the incoming chancellor?
I would say welcome to UMass Boston. From what I've seen, it is a great campus. And I would also ask him what exactly he plans to do as new chancellor. And I would ask him on his opinion on the past chancellors and what he thinks he did right, the past chancellors have done right with the campus, and what he wants to change about us, because he is, while he is not part of the student body, his decisions do affect us, and I want to know, we already have so many changes coming in. I want to be aware of any other changes so that way we're not blindsided with something drastically changing in this campus.
One thing that I've seen on this campus is that students really like to talk to the administrator themselves and really like the administration that is approachable. And I can say that Barry Mills this year, he's been very approachable. He has an open door policy, and I would really suggest the new chancellor to have that. I think it's very important, like in that position, to hear the students' concerns firsthand. I know that some of the other UMass campuses, they have chancellors that have really great relationship with their students on campus, and I think that's one advice, that's one thing that I would tell the new chancellor, whoever it is who's coming in, to have an open door policy, to make time for students and hear their concerns.
So another big aspect of the role is you sit in these board meetings, 22 people, and you have a seat at the table. So issues come up regarding tuition, increases, elasticity, and these people look to you. You effectively speak for students on this campus and faculty, staff, and others on the campus who do not have a seat at the table. As that representative, how specifically would you make sure to connect with those students? Because by definition, as one person, you can't be 17,000. So what specifically would you do to make sure that if views that you express at those meetings aren't just yours, but really do represent the campus?
I think this goes back to, again, communicating with the students on campus, just making sure that you are going around talking to the students and actually getting their point of view. Me, I can't say I do know a lot of people, like a good amount of people on this campus, but I don't know the 17,000. So my goal next year would be to target the people that I don't know, whether it's through just like tabling, like I said, or math service, or having an open door policy, or coming up with something else. I think it's very important to communicate with, like, vocalizing what you are doing to the students on campus and hearing their concerns.
Like Sarah said, it does go back to communicating with the students, and in order to fully represent what they want and what the student body wants and the faculty wants, it begins with communicating with them and actually talking to them, and not just like hearing stuff through the grapevine. I would try to find the best way possible for every student to feel like their voice is heard, and to make sure that if they see a drastic problem, that they can talk to someone, whether it's talking to a student senator or talking to the student president, and talking with them of what they've heard students complain about or students want, so that way I've heard every possible option from the student body to make sure that it's best heard in the Board of Trustees.
So you are both undergrads. The student trustee represents both undergrads and graduate students. How do you plan on making sure that graduate students' interests and worries are also heard in your discussions? If you're going to say just hear them or talk to them, please be specific on how you plan to do that.
Like I said earlier, I would try and find out when their graduate student assembly meets, and I would try to make sure that I can go to as many of these meetings as possible, and also try to form a really good relationship with their officers, just as I would make sure I have a good relationship with the undergraduate student president and vice president, to make sure that they are both on equal playing fields, because we are students here, but so are they, and they deserve to have an equal voice here because they're paying for this too. They're trying to get an education just like we are, and they're not that different.
It's funny you brought that up. Just the other day I was having this conversation with the current president of the Graduate Student Assembly, and I was like, okay, whoever the person is in this position, how are they going to target the graduate student? How can they make sure that their issues are being heard too? And obviously the biggest thing is making sure that you have a good relationship with the president of the GSA and you go to their meetings, but more so also going to their classes and just having a good relationship with the faculty too in the graduate school, because they're really engaged in the issues of the graduate students. So that, so I guess it's also reaching out to the graduate schools and going to their events, and because they have a lot of events too, and just communicating with them that way.
Being in the role, at times the role can be stressful, and there's a lot to think about, a lot of material to cover. So a real crucial part is being able to binge watch a TV show. Could you please tell the audience what is your favorite TV show to binge watch before we take audience questions?
So I guess I'll say Friends. I haven't watched the whole thing. So my friends, they really rash me on it because I haven't watched the whole thing, and it's really funny. I've only watched like 2 seasons, so I would definitely watch that.
You definitely have to watch the rest of the seasons of Friends. I'm currently binge watching 2 different shows on 2 different Netflix accounts. One's The Office, and the other one is Gossip Girl, because there's so much drama on that show. I gotta finish it.
Thank you very much. Now we will be taking audience questions. Please say your name.
My name is Kelsey, and I was just wondering, obviously there's like a lot of pressure when it comes to dealing with meetings and stuff, so how do you guys think that you would deal with confrontation if someone's really upset about an issue?
Confrontation as if they're passionate about it, or confrontation as if they're mad at it? Mad.
I think it's part of our job is we do advocate for students, so part of our job is listening to their concerns. If there's a student who's like really mad about something, just listen to them, stay calm. It's part of your job. And I've kind of dealt with that. I work at the Dean of Students office upstairs, and we have many times you have students come in who are really frustrated about a lot of different things. So I have dealt with that. I think the big part is just like listen to them and stay calm, and then obviously resolve their issue. Do your best to resolve their issue because that's your job. That's why you were elected.
I definitely agree with the staying calm part. After a bunch of years of working in customer service jobs with the general public, I have definitely had my fair share amount of people scream at me, yell at me. I've had a couple of things thrown at my face, and I try my best to work with them and to figure out, okay, what exactly is causing you to be angry or frustrated? Because usually when someone's mad, they're using the smallest thing that sets them off, and they're like, I'm mad about this part. Okay, why is that making you mad? Is it making you mad because it's inconveniencing you? Is it inconveniencing your friends? And I would just try to figure out exactly what's causing it so that way I can have the best solution for them possible.
Thank you, candidates. Any other audience questions, comments, anything you'd like to see from one of these two candidates?
Hi, my name is Jeff Sully. I'm a veteran, so I try to get out there as much as I can to speak for the guys who try to keep our nose to the grindstone and make a lot of waves. UMass Boston is the largest population of student veterans in the entire UMass Boston campus. It's relatively the same size as Northeastern universities. Northeastern dedicates a lot more universities to student veterans for private schools as they do. I'm just kind of wondering what you guys, maybe what tactics you would use to really engage your veteran population, which for the most part kind of just gets
To help out the veteran community, the veterans here on campus, I would definitely try and make sure that they have every resource available. In my internship with Representative Jeff Deal, I have tried to navigate some of the websites that are supposedly there to help offer offer resources for education in terms of their transfer scripts and the GI bills, and I would try to make it as easy as possible and try to help to give the resources available, and so that way they have an easy transition from if they're just coming out of service or if they're on active duty, and to help them know that first always be an open year, and also make sure that they aren't forgotten, and make sure that they are here and that they are 100% part of UMass Boston, and they're not their own separate group. They're part of us. We're all one big group.
I think part of that is just communicating with them. First of all, like going on to the Veteran Center on the 3rd floor, but not all veterans come to that. So communicating with the Veteran Affairs on the 4th floor, because they take care of all of the veterans that are going to be on this campus or that are on this campus. I don't know what kind of resources the veterans they need or what kind of issues they're having. So it's kind of like communicating with them and talking to them, like, let me come to your meeting. Give me the email list for all the veterans, and I will shoot them an email, and communicating with them and asking them, okay, what are your needs, and then localizing those needs and getting their issues resolved.
Are there any more audience questions? Seeing that there is none. Oh, no, Joe?
Why should we go at all for either of you if, like, I found some files about the website that say that Board of Trustees, like the student doesn't supervise the Board of Trustees, so why should we go for either one of you to stand up for UMass Boston and advocate for reforms if ultimately you would drive power from the people that we want before us that want to for the UMass Boston student body?
To answer that, I would say a big part of this job is knowing the board itself, and also knowing the issues that the students facing on this campus and talking to the students. I have been involved in student government, like I said, the past 2 years. First I was a senator, and then I was elected as student body vice president. And through that I've encountered many students and many student issues. So I think that's an important part. I know a lot of the population of this campus, and if elected I would want to know more people, because obviously I don't know the 17,000. And also it's important to know the administration on campus and on the system level. And I can assure you I have a really good relationship with the administration on campus, And I've gone to, in the previous year, I've gone to most of the board meetings and the last year too. So I have the connection with a lot of the people on the board. So yes, thank you.
I think that you should vote for either one of us or of the other three candidates that are here because this position it's very important and it might seem non-important because as you said that the student trustee is under the board of trustees, but that's where student government gets its power. It's another position to help make sure that voices aren't heard and you're not lost in the scramble. Like there are 17,000 students, but if you have and in student government you have the more representatives you have, the more likely your voice is going to get heard. Because if you have this entire student body, 17,000 people, they all address their concerns to the graduate student assembly and undergrad student government, and then the student trustee gets to go talk to them and talk to you guys as well to make sure that every voice possible can be heard. And I think that the issue will do well no matter who's elected.
And Big Rich.
Hello. My name's Richard. So both of you guys have been talking about like just listening and talking to the students and getting to understand their problems. But at the end of the day, realistically, there will be different ideas on issues. There's always going to be a pro and con to like anything that gets brought up. So with that, after listening to like and talking to all these students, what would be your go-to? What would help you, or what would make you decide which area to side with? Because again, like, although a lot of us here are talking about the parking fees increasing and whatnot, there are people who do rely on the fact that they should be going up, and it's a necessary factor in paying off a lot of their debt. So, how would you sort of make that big decision on which side to side with? But also, what would you do for trying to help out the people who couldn't get their way with the policy? Because you shouldn't just leave them behind. You should still try to maintain communication. So what would you say to that?
I would try to get the majority of the opinion of the student body because at the end of the day, I am representing all of you, and while I am also part of the student body, I am not the entire student body. So even if the majority opinion goes against what I personally think, I still have to represent most of the students. And if a decision goes in a way that a lot of people don't agree with, I would try to make sure that it's easy to explain to them, okay, this is why this vote happened, and this is why this was the result. And I would also try to explain how it can benefit them if they're mostly concerned, like if the parking fees do increase, and there are people who are mad about it, I would try to explain, okay, the parking fees increased, but it also made sure that your tuition didn't go down, and these are the passes that do genuinely save you this much money, so they don't fully go up for you, and I would try to help them, explain to them why something happened, and not just be like, oh, well, you lost, and that's it. I would try to make sure to keep the connection, because they might disagree with one result, but they also might want another that I can help them with.
I definitely agree. I think that whoever's in this position, they need to look into what is good for most of the population on our campus. Also, I think they need to use their best judgment and see what's best for the population and what's good for our campus too in the future, not just present. And a lot of times I've seen if you just explain to, if you weren't able to accomplish something, or if there's a policy and there's a reason behind it, if you just explain to students and they listen to you, they know where the administration is coming from. So I think that's also an important part of this job.
Any other audience questions?
My name is John Patrick. So I think a lot of people talking about issues that to me are kind of mundane, like game passes, costs, and teach discounts and whatnot, just basic student interactions. But getting into the administrative stuff that you guys are going to have to do as student trustees, you're probably going to have to interact with a lot of administrative committees on campus. For example, the general education, where they basically deliberate what's necessary, what's not necessary, what requirements, what are not requirements. And in place, we currently have classes and policies that have been in place for decades now. In classes that are kind of redundant to the grand scheme of things. For example, the intermediate seminar, especially for transfer students coming in, it's kind of needless. You know, you have a lot of courses, general ed courses, humanities courses, coming in from other schools, and then they say, you know, the credit cap is 80 credits. If you have 80 credits or more, you have to take it. And then there's some students who've already taken the WP, and they still have to take the intermediate seminar, which is there to create a writing portfolio for people that have to complete the WP. So I guess what I'm asking is, how do you plan on interacting with committees such as the General Education Committee and other committees that interact with them?
I mean, I have encountered a lot of students that have transferred to this campus, and they have taken certain courses, and those course credits don't transfer, and that is very frustrating because you have paid for those courses. But if it's not transferring, it's kind of like you have to pay that money again, and a lot of our students can't afford that, especially with the rising fee and tuition. So I think it's getting specific on what are those courses, what do the students want, and then vocalizing that to the administration, whether it's the academic committee that you're talking about, the provost office, and whatever you can do to vocalize those issues and actually get them resolved.
For transfer courses, like Sarah said, it goes into a specific course and why it's not coming as transferred. If that's a real issue for you and for a bunch of other students, I would definitely take that into consideration. And when I go to those meetings, I would bring that up and say, why are some of these general education courses that are supposed to be general and cover these specific topics, I would ask, why aren't they being accepted? And one of the things that I want to work on, which I in my mentorship that goes back to the veterans, is how can service or life experience be transferred into course credits? Because say you've had experience in, if you're a child development major and you're working towards being a preschool teacher, and you've had a bunch of experience as a nanny or as, and you've had experience working with a sibling or a family member who is disabled, and you want to put that life experience into a credit, how can that be possible? Because to those people, that can seem redundant. So I would try to take those concerns and ask, what can we do about this so that way our students are getting the most out of their experience at UMass Boston, and they're not just seen as, oh, I have to retake this class again. Because that's not what the community wants.
Any other questions? Oh, I should just stay with that.
So a follow-up question. So for courses like that, which I believe to be redundant, especially if you're transferring from courses and more experience, as you were saying, for beginner students coming in as freshmen or sophomores or freshman transfers, it's pretty difficult to navigate the chain of command, right? To try to figure out how to address these issues or to see if you can somehow pull us out of the course. And a lot of these administrative figures of the chain of command make themselves intentionally very inaccessible. Very intentionally so. So, for example, for the intermediate seminar, you start with the director of the undergraduate admissions program. You get a note from her, you go to the vice provost, you get a note from her, you go to the provost, you get a note from the provost, you go to the general education committee. And most people give up right around the general education committee. So how can we come up with a way to navigate students, or to kind of like educate students how to advocate for themselves administratively?
I would as I said earlier, we want to make any of the process of what happens at UMass Boston more easily attainable and more accessible. So in terms of that, I would try to see what I can do with the administration in every avenue possible, and make kind of like a FAQ type list of have one of those questions would be, I didn't get credit for this course, but I think that I should get, because I'm a transfer student. Who do I have to go talk to? Instead of saying, oh, go to this office and this office and this office, I would say go to the General Education Committee, or find out what avenue is best so that way they can get it as quickly as possible, because I know that meetings can take forever and they keep going on, and you've basically wasted a whole semester trying to get credit for this one class, when it's just easier to retake it. So I tried to make it more easily accessible and not as complicated and balled up and tangled in a mess as it is right now.
So I know that with that issue, there's like a chain that the students have to go through. It's like if a student has an issue, they go to the professor or whoever the person is, and then they go to the chair of the department, and then they go to the dean, and then the vice provost. So if that's an issue that students are having, they don't want to go through that. I think the best way is to talk to the provost office and like students too, and be like, okay, what's the easier way that we can come up with to assist those students? Because obviously if that student is going through all of those chains, they have serious issues and they are committed to get their issue resolved. So like, let's have a chat and come up with a way.
One of the tactics that they have is, you can try to bypass the chain of command and go straight to the provost. So you can try to bypass the chain of the command and go straight to the provost, but you get barred by a bunch of secretaries that are basically told, listen, just tell them to send me an email and I'll deal with it that way. You send an email and then they ask why you want to meet with them, and then they give you a response almost unconditionally saying, I can't help you with that. And then you still don't get to meet with them. So how do we hold them accountable for refusing to meet with students?
The question was, how do we hold administrators accountable for refusing to meet with students directly? That's going to be the last question in those closing statements.
I would say that most of the administrators that I've met on this campus, they're very good at meeting with their student leaders, and they actually want to hear what the students have to say. So I think it's just reaching out to provost himself and being like, okay, this is an issue, and getting a push from, I would say if elected, like I would give a push to you and being like, okay, this student is having this issue, how can we get it resolved? This student has been trying to reach out to you from however long, and he has this issue, how can we get this resolved?
I would definitely try to, as an elected official, I would definitely say this student, like Sarah says, having this problem, and I would ask, if you say you can't, I would say if any administration office, if they can't help the student, they should do their best of their ability to point them in the right direction, so it's not just cutting them off at one spot and saying, well, I can't help you. Say, I can't help you, this is the office, or this is the person that can.
Wrapping up questions, I'm going to ask Sarah to begin the candidates on closing statements, 2 minutes.
I just want to thank you all for coming here and for your great question. I hope I can count on you for your vote, but most importantly, I hope that you guys actually go and vote. Voting is next week, Monday to Thursday, begins 8:30 until midnight on Thursday. We as your student leaders do an important job of representing your point of view to the school's administration and the Board of Trustees. So your vote really counts. So I hope that you guys take your time out. It only takes a minute. Go out and vote on Monday, starting Monday. And I'll be around for a bit if you guys have more questions. And thank you so much for coming in.
Yes, thank you for coming out, and you guys had really amazing questions, and I just hope you guys do go out and vote, whoever you vote for. I think Sarah's also a great candidate, but I hope I can count you for a vote. But yes, go out and vote, make sure your voice is heard. Because remember, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Awesome. Round of applause for candidates. Usually the president's debate beats the trustee debate in audience members, but this year we turned the tide. So thank you guys very much for coming. Really appreciate it. Thank you both for having a great debate. Voting starts April 4th at 8:30 in the morning and goes to April 7th at midnight. So please take the time. April 5th. Sorry, it starts April 5th. Website's probably not that high. So either way, go out and vote. It's very important that you vote. And thank you guys so much.
To correct the grade ends April 5th.
April 5th. That's not bad. Have a wonderful day.